What we've got here is Barbie if it had been made by only men and starred Nicolas Cage.
That's a good one.
Yeah, oh boy. Where to start? We definitely have a more definitively insane Nicolas Cage moment than Not the Bees now, because Eat the Rat was... I mean, I was basically crying in the cinema with tears of joy and hatred for this film, because that was just awe-inspiring, truly. The Surfer stars Nicolas Cage, and is that Cole from Charmed? That was a jump scare. Anyway, he's a dad who brings his son to the beach where his father killed himself because he's about to buy his father's old house back to live in, and he wants to show his son the beach. Basically, it seems that Nicolas Cage is playing the only man in the world rich enough to drive a Lexus that's not in therapy. Basically, these toxic male, Jim Bro, Alpha Sigma, Andrew Tate loving, Jordan Peterson reading dickwads are occupying this beach, and they won't leave, and the police are on their side because one of them is fairly rich, and they have this little like cult thing going on down there about suffering to surf. Surfer. What a mess. And Nicolas Cage's character is just credited, by the way, on IMDb as the Surfer. That should tell you what kind of film this is. It's just... So they tell them, him and his son, that they can't surf, and then Nicolas Cage takes his son home, comes back the next day, and then starts living out of his car there at this beach. He has no supplies. He doesn't even leave to go get supplies. Like, he just refuses to leave. And maybe... Maybe you're just meant to buy into this as being completely surreal just because Nicolas Cage is in it, but I couldn't do that off the bat because it was just, there's nothing, surreal about it at first, and then it just kind of delves into this Wonderland type thing where nothing makes sense, and I was screaming for almost 2 full hours, this was too long, at Nicolas Cage's character to just leave, because he can just leave any point, any time. People say, hey, do you want to go? I could take you somewhere, I could get you out of here, I can give you breakfast. I help him in all sorts of ways, and he just refuses every offer of help. And it's just... I see the points it's trying to make, but it is so infuriating to watch, so bizarre to watch, so uncomfortably just to watch. And every time it started to win me over, because there were times where I was genuinely kind of going like, oh, okay, I really like the way they're doing this part, or making this point. It would then just do something random and mental and dumb as shit again, and I would just go, no, never mind. I kept kind of going like... Basically, the film is just the embodiment of, toxic masculinity and father and son relationships and the difficulties of those and the weirdness of those and the male loneliness epidemic, I guess. Just any problem faced today by middle-class straight white men. And I mean, that is who stars in this. I believe there are maybe 6 or 7 lines spoken on screen by a woman. Basically, Nicolas Cage's job is just beach. It seems, because he just started to live there for no reason. But he's also way worse at it than Ryan Gosling was, yeah. I feel like this is what the English must have thought Australia was when they sent all their prisoners there. They must have just imagined it was like hell like this. Which is weird and totally out of left field, because I've never met an Australian guy that seemed like anything but a really chill-ass dude. So this was very bizarre for me, but whatever. I feel like... I hated it. There's no point... beating around the bush. I just hated it. I thought it was such a mess. It was so unwatchable. It was so difficult to stay in the cinema for almost 2 hours watching this, because I went in with desperately low expectations after seeing the trailer. I thought, oh, this is going to be just nuts for the sake of being nuts, for no real reason, not for an advantage in terms of storytelling or anything like that. It's just insane for insane's sake, and that is what it is. And yet, even though I went in with those horribly low expectations, I still feel like it didn't even match them. Nothing about this was even vaguely real. Even the desire to go surfing, because, I mean, you don't need human conflict against other toxic guys when you're trying to go surfing. You're already facing down the wrath of Poseidon. I went surfing a couple weeks ago, lost a chunk of my finger. It's a whole... doesn't matter. So I feel like this was maybe, arguably, bordering on my worst cinema experience of the year so far. And that is saying something. There's been a few, not as many as last year, but there's been a few bad ones. I just hated it. I couldn't get on board. I tried a number of times to kind of get on with it, and I really liked the idea of showing some of these messages in the film, but it just kept, beating me back. Like the ocean when you try to go surfing. Just kept saying, no, you don't get to enjoy this. This is a shit film. So I don't know what everyone's screaming about online that this is good. I think it is garbage. And I'm giving still easier than the modern normal way of getting on the property ladder 1.5 stars. I mean, it's just Mother, but for guys that are having a midlife crisis. Mother was also just awful, yeah. Also, I feel like Nicolas Cage has somehow been at the age where we expect him to have a teenager as a child for like 20 years. So I don't know what's going on there. It doesn't matter.